So as I was saying, the theme of this event today is Faces of Courage. And what I want to do before I get started really is acknowledge the man after whom this school was named, Master Corporal Mark Isfeld. He was a Canadian peacekeeping soldier. He served 3 terms in 2.5 years in Kosovo and Kuwait. Speaking about courage, his job was to deactivate landmines, and as he'd be bent over each day, knowing that one false move could mean his death, in his backpack he always carried dolls made by his mother, dolls that he gave to traumatized kids wherever he went. He was a man of courage and a man with a huge heart, and that's an awesome combination. In 1994, Mark was walking in front of a tank in Kosovo. The tank hit a landmine, and Mark died that day. A hero, and definitely the face of courage. Today I want to talk about average, everyday, ordinary people who in their lives have faced courageously the challenges that we all have thrown at us. I'm talking about these people. People who are strong, positive role models who have a lot to teach us about life and living. But before I do that, I want to give you some of my background. Through my teens and early 20s, into my 30s, I read every touchy-feely find-yourself book I could lay my hands on. I went to every workshop I could go to. I studied, I don't know how many different religions, all the time trying to figure out who I was, why I'm here, what am I supposed to do with my life, what should be my next step, what's important. In my early 30s, 32, 33, I came back from having spent 2 months in a Buddhist temple in Thailand. And it suddenly hit me, the most important life lessons I had learned was not through all that study. The most important life lessons I had learned were taught to me by my parents and grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, neighbors, bus drivers, teachers, coaches, ordinary, positive role models in my life I learned by watching the way they lived their lives. Strong, positive role models. Excuse me. People that I like to call hidden heroes. Hidden heroes are ordinary people who consistently, day after day after day after day, do small, positive things to make a difference, both in their own lives and the lives of people around them. They know that doing things for themselves is not being selfish. That's just making yourself stronger and more capable to help others. Hidden heroes also don't focus on their weaknesses and try to fix them, theirs and the people around them. They focus on their strengths and the strengths on those around them, and they use those strengths to build up the weaknesses. I'll talk about that later. But I want to introduce you now to Gabriel McPhee. Gabriel, in kindergarten, his best friend's mom shaved her head for cancer. And then one of his family members from quite a distance away, he heard she had shaved her head for cancer, and Gabriel thought, my hair grows. I could do that. But he was a shy kid. He didn't tell anyone. He realized or decided that's what he was going to do. Eventually, his parents bugged him and bugged him and bugged him again to get his hair cut, so he told them, but he didn't tell any of his classmates. And his hair, by the time he got into grade 1, was getting down to his shoulders. Grade 1, half the class was new to him, and they started, you gotta go to the girls' washroom, all that kind of teasing. Many times he came home at night in tears, his mom said, but he persisted. He had a goal. And I heard about him just before he had his hair cut. So I did a television feature on him and I wrote a newspaper column. And I asked him at that time, I said, what do you hope is going to come out of all this? And he said, well, I really hope that a lot of people are going to be impressed with what I'm doing and do that themselves. And I said, well, what if they don't? And he said, well, I'll grow my hair 10 more times. And then he thought about it a little bit and he said, well, maybe 5. He did it twice. I took the video I did to a grade 4 or 5 class in Chemainus. The next day I got a call, 5 boys, inspired by Gabriel, were going to shave their heads for cancer. The rest of the class all pitched in and did fundraisers. That October, grade 4 or 5 class in Chemainus raised $11,800, inspired by Gabriel. That video is now part of the Our Hidden Heroes program across Canada. So how many kids and adults is he inspiring? The true hidden hero, by the way, is his best friend's mom, who did was the right thing for her. She had no idea what was going to happen. She inspired Gabriel, and off we go. So what can we learn from Gabriel? Find strong, positive role models. As he said, I just thought if they can do it, so can I. And then become a role model yourself. By the way, I'm hoping that you'll pick up 1 or 2 of these ideas and take out the door with you. Kathleen Perry Thompson has to be one of the most amazing women I've ever met. At 9 months of age, she was in a house fire. She was covered with a blanket. Her arms were out in her face. Until she was 18, she spent 3 months in the hospital, 3 months in the hospital, 3 months at home, 3 months in the hospital, rebuilding fingers on her hands. They couldn't do anything with her face. She said she had a witch's nose, and her face disappeared into her shoulder. It just drooped. They couldn't do anything till she was 18, and her skull stopped growing. At 15, she moved all on her own to Montreal to be near the Shriners Burn Hospital, wonderful people. And working with them, she said she started to get her confidence build up, and she went to school, and she graduated. She got married early, had 2 kids, went back to school, did 2 diplomas, had 4 more kids, moved to Vancouver Island, and 2 or 3 years later became a single mother with 6 kids, did social work diploma, became a teacher's assistant, and last year, she has a new partner in her life. Last year, she completed 2 years of her social work degree, carried on a full-time job, and delivered a baby just after her exams. 7 kids. So what can we learn from Kathleen? Focus on your strengths and gifts. Kathleen has an amazing mind. She's got a wonderful personality, a great sense of humor. When she commits, she is absolutely committed. So she focused on all those strengths, and look what she's done with her life. When kids are afraid to come to school because they got 2 pimples, she was going to school and getting married and having kids with her face destroyed by fire. And don't focus on your faults and weaknesses. Crystal Carson was born with a serious learning disability, unbelievable shyness, and when she went to school was teased and bullied and went through all that, dropped out of school in grade 4, and her parents said, well, that's okay, we'll take care of you, and they did. Until in her early 30s, her dad had Alzheimer's in hospital, her mom was killed in a car accident. She was on her own. She reached out for help, something called supportive apartment living, run by a friend of mine, actually. They taught her how to look after herself, run her apartment, pay bills, cook, do all of that sort of stuff. She reached out to counselors and learned to build up her self-esteem and self-confidence. And she went back to literacy in Nanaimo and started at grade 4, studying with one person. And this shy, quiet kid that could not talk above a whisper when I met her, it's 2 or 3 years ago now, she had just got an A in grade 10 math. And she was half a block away when she saw me and yelled to tell me about her success. Surround yourself with supportive friends. They're out there. They're all over the place. They want to help you. As you want to help others, there's no greater joy. We all know that. Surround yourself with supportive friends. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Man, I think that's true of men and women, but particularly guys. And if you want to have guts and show you have guts, be smart enough to ask for help when you can use it. And be open to positive criticism. She encourages it. Most of us kind of shy away. She filters it, uses what works for her, and lets the rest go. Steve Littley, grade 10 student when he dropped out. Not only dropped out, he failed every exam of his final exam, didn't pass one. Luckily, little luck helps in life, got a job with a man who was just starting a floor cleaning company, just the two of them. 3 or 4 years later, there were 60 people. Steve became the general manager. Another 6 or 7 years went by, and he started thinking, you know, I'd really like to be a lawyer. This is the kid that dropped out of school. The kid that everybody gave up on, I'm sure the parents, teachers, friends. Steve told me he'd even given up on himself. Now he wants to be a lawyer. His boss, when he went for help, moved him over to the island to run the island part of the business. He went to Malaspina University College at the time, upgraded his high school, graduated with a degree in psychology and anthropology, applied for his master's degree at SFU in anthropology and law at UBC. He was given a good chunk of money to go to SFU. A couple of months later, he was accepted into law, so he did his first year of his master's degree in anthropology. The next year, he did his second year of anthropology. His first year in law, that's tough enough all on its own. And then finished, he's now a lawyer in Nanaimo. This dropout that everybody gave up on, including himself. It's in there, it's in all of us. The Steve Littley, the lawyer, that part of him, that's in all of us. Too many of us focus on our weaknesses and keep trying to fix them or give up because we've got so many weaknesses. Steve is now looking at his strengths, and they're in us. All of us. We are stronger than most of us think we are. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Never, ever, ever give up on yourself. Joel Lameroo, 600 pounds there at 35. 15, he was a 300-pound superstar athlete. The weight kept going on. Athletics went by the way. In university, he was too heavy to compete in sports and too shy to meet others because he was grossly overweight. His friend became food, and he gained 60 pounds between September and Thanksgiving. Then at 35, you see him here, he was getting out of a chair one day. His wife said it would take him 2 hours to get out of bed. He was so heavy. He was getting out of a chair. He didn't have his leg properly aligned, broke his knee, 600 pounds on that knee. He decided then that he had to do something about his weight. He had his stomach stapled and started from there. His first goal was to walk 20 steps, and then he added a couple of paces every day. A month and a half later, he started at a gym. 3 months later, he'd lost 120 pounds. His next goal was sit in a chair with arms on it to fit in, to walk down the street without people staring at him, to walk 18 holes of golf, to fly a plane. 3 years from then, there's a check mark beside each one of those things. Small things done consistently can and often do. He said, if I had set a goal of taking off 380 pounds, I wouldn't have been able to make it. I wouldn't have even started. But I only wanted to take off 1 pound or 2 a week. That was doable. Small things done consistently. Sara Foster, in grade 8, her parents divorced. Nasty, nasty, nasty divorce. Everyone was mad at everyone else. Sara was mad at her parents. She was mad at herself because she thought she might have been part of it. She a little depressed and a bit of a mess. Great student. She and her mom moved to another area, new school, grade 9, Calgary. This angry student went to school. Who did she choose to hang out with? Other angry kids. At the end of the year, she'd failed English. 49% in math. 49%. The math teacher called her in and said, Sara, I can do 3 things. I could fail you. In Calgary, you fail 2 subjects. You have to repeat your whole year. At least that's the way it was then. She said, I could pass you and put you in a normal math class, but she said, Sara, I see the student you are. And I've decided to put you into the advanced grade 10 math class. Now, the grade 10 teacher was not all that excited about having all 90% students and one failure. But Sara worked her butt off just to meet the vision, the image that the grade 9 teacher had of her. She got 68%. In grade 9, she got 98%. In university, she went flying through with a 4.0 grade point average all the way. Now she's second in command of the Mid-Island Boys and Girls Club, and when she sees a boy or a girl acting out, does she see the messed up kid or the kid that we all know that's inside? I think you know the answer. Look for and acknowledge the best in people around you. Recognize and celebrate your own strengths. And don't wait to others to do it for you. Karen Kohler didn't. Karen is the daughter of a friend of mine, and she never got along with her parents over the time I knew her. And I think she was more in the right than her parents, actually. I kind of connected with her. One day I'd taken her out for dinner, and she suddenly broke into tears. She was in grade 11. She said, "That's it, I can't take it at home anymore. I'm quitting school. I've arranged to move in with friends, and I just can't do it." And we had a long talk, and I said, "Karen, I want you to do an exercise for me. I want you to complete this sentence at least 25 times, and I'm asking all of you, adults and kids, to take this exercise, complete this sentence 25 times. I want to remind myself that and then list even the small things. I stopped kicking my little brother, whatever it was. Things like this. And list them. So I said, "Karen, I want you to do that and send it to me. Both sides of a sheet of foolscap," I said. And she did. And soon after that, I knew she'd finished high school, but I lost touch with her. And it's 3 or 4 years ago now, I got a phone call thanking me. She's got her Master's of Education. She's a teacher. She said that's what did it. That's what turned her around. I've had the opportunity twice to go to Zimbabwe on a Rotary Rural School project. And this story that I want to end with comes from Africa. It's a story about a builder, the greatest builder within 100 miles in any direction. 35 years of building, and he finally decided to retire, and he went into the owner and told him that that was his last day, and the owner begged him, pleaded him, and said, "I've got one more project. It's the biggest, most expensive house we've ever built, and I want my best builder to build it." And they went back and forth. He said, "No, I want to quit. I've had enough." Finally, he agreed, kind of grumpily, and he went back and he started building the house. And he was trying to do it in record time, so there should be 3 nails, 1 would do. And he built the house in record time. Looked pretty good, not too solid underneath. And he went in to have his final visit with his boss. There's a big crowd there, a retirement party. And his boss had wonderful things to say about him, and then handed him an envelope, and in the envelope was a key to the house he had just built. I hope you remember that as you go into class tomorrow. If you don't remember anything else today, remember that story. Remember it as you go back into your life, and please have a really good day and a courageous life. Namaste.